Greetings, Shadow Era! Welcome to Shadow Era Radio, the brand new official podcast of Wolven Studios. We on the Shadow Era design team are coming here to bring you guys all the latest news and developments in Shadow Era and give you an inside track on where the game's at, where it's going, and stuff we've got in store for you. We've got a lot of exciting news to share today with you guys, but first let me introduce you to everyone we've got here on the podcast with us from the design team. First up, we have Nick, also known as Orange Hat Guy.
Yo.
We have Kevin, also known as Nacho Cheese.
Top of the morning to you, laddies.
We have Lewis, who is also known as Soothslayer.
Hello, folks.
Gondorian, also known as GDC.
Hello.
And I am Seth, also known on the forums as Seth. Before we get started, let's just have everyone go through and say a little bit about what you do on the design team so people can know who's talking at them and what we got going on. So let's start with Nick. What do you do here?
Well, I am the head of the physical play department, and what that means is I set up organized play, I'm working on prize support, crack a whole lot of jokes, do some fashion police work, and I'm going to be at tournaments whenever when we start having physical play tournaments, doing regionals and stuff at conventions.
And as the fashion police enforcer, is it your job to ensure that everyone has orange hats at all future Shadow Era events?
It's actually to ensure that nobody else has a better orange hat, which is pretty easy, actually. Like, that work kind of does itself.
It is pretty hard to top yours.
True enough.
Kevin, give us a inside track on what you do.
Well, I'm in charge of the story of Shadow Era. I come up with all the backstories for the heroes, and everyone's favorite part of the cards, I get to do the little flavor text on the bottom. And the best part is whenever I can run a contest so people do my work for me. So pretty much I've got the easiest and most fun job on the design team.
Sounds pretty awesome. Lewis, how about you?
I am responsible for the focus group. Been running that for some time now. Just all sorts of balance testing, crafting this crazy crack team of testers for balance purposes and such. And I'm also doing a lot of the designing bits now. So I'm doing a lot of designs for future sets as well. Although I will say that, going forward now, thinking about what Orange Hat Guy just said about his hat, I feel compelled to don a monocle now.
I approve.
I want to see it. Like, screenshots or it didn't happen, man. Everyone listening, if you would like to see Lewis in a monocle on the forums, please do send him a PM to urge him to do it. His name on the forum is Soothslayer once again, and I hope you guys fill his inbox very quickly.
I'm sure Soothslayeress will make sure that happens.
Moving on to Gondorian, give us a little inside track on what you do.
Well, I do quite a lot of different things. I haven't got one specific area. My title within the team is project manager, but it's mostly just trying to bring Kyle's vision to life because he's doing the development side. So within the team, everyone's got their different areas, and I need to try and bring it all together, I guess, and just help out wherever is required. And I do the organised play for online as well, which, if you look at the organised play section at the moment, it is kind of running itself, so that's great.
That's true. There are a ton of great things going on over there, and we'll get to that later in the episode. And for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Seth, and I am in charge of Wolven's online presence and community engagement, getting things like this podcast and some other projects that we're working on out to you guys so you can get sort of the inside track and kind of know us and who we are and what we're all about, all that sort of stuff. So let's go ahead and talk about the hottest topic on the forum right now, which is all of the spoilers that have been coming out for the upcoming expansion. What's been the player reaction to these so far?
I think we're all too polite to say, so I'm going to burst in and do 2 fire damage to everybody and talk about Furry and Terror. And so I think that the response to it was fantastic. I think generally people loved it. Look at the artwork, it's awesome. So that's one of the main reasons we picked it. And it did come out of nowhere. Nobody was expecting it.
That's true. It was really fun to watch, a spoiler just appear out of nowhere and then suddenly all this forum activity kicked up around it.
I will say that I'm kind of torn between Paladin of Lunaxio and Lawyer and Diplomat, as they both usher in 2 alternate styles of doing things. Like, Diplomat's going to be Sandrum's worst nightmare.
That's really true.
It is quite funny how a diplomat can talk a sandworm into not reducing damage, but I suppose you can say, hey, look over there, and somebody can, I don't know, stab him where he hasn't got any armor. So
I don't know. I mean, that is one hell of a silver tongue right there. He is quite the suave gentleman. Quite the suave gentleman.
Remo Wormtongue, take notes.
My theory was that he probably talked the budgeting team out of not being able to afford the armor. You know, we're doing a little bit of time traveling in this example, but I think it works.
Yeah.
That might be what his pendant is for. All right, so before we get talking too deep about what these cards do, let's make sure that everyone knows what they are. Let me read off the first. Well, I guess it'll be the third spoiler, but since we're talking about him, let's talk about Laerian Diplomat. This is a 2-cost human ally. He has 2 attack and 2 health, and his ability is that whenever he's summoned, target opposing ally loses all passive abilities until the start of your next turn. So when you play this guy and he hits the table, he chooses an enemy ally like Sandworm or Molten Destroyer and takes away their passive always running abilities until the next turn, until the start of your next turn. People have been there are some people that are really, really excited about this and some people that are kind of meh about it. What's your guys' take on it?
I think the right way to think about it is what are going to, at least in terms of set 1, what are going to be his most common targets. We already talked about Sandworm. There's also going to be Gargoyle, probably Alden the Brave. You know, it's going to affect a lot of stuff like that. You know, what other cards do you think, you know, it's really going to be targeted on in a huge way?
Yeah, I think people underestimate the impact he will have on shutting down an Aeon, because Aeon leans heavily on that protector being able to drop Jasmines behind him and really have a lot of a weenie horde behind him. And Diplomat's ability, you know, playing Diplomat as Boris per se, where you can shut down Aeon's protector and you shoot through with Boris's ability to get rid of somebody who's hiding. Stuff like that's going to be, you know, really interesting to see Diplomat. I could definitely see him juxtaposed to Puin Whitehelm, I guess it is. Puin Bloodhelm.
Bloodhelm, yeah.
Yeah, juxtaposed to Puin, who's a great 2-drop, who's really offensive, but later in the game is more of a body, whereas Diplomat later in the game, he's got some uses.
Yeah.
I think you're not going to see a whole lot of Laerian on turn 2. It seems like a wasted card in many situations.
What are you going to do? Take away Fire Snake's OP-ness? But it's not
exactly.
It's P-ness, sorry.
Wow.
I don't know if I can bring myself to edit that one out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
there you have,
it's
folks.
written on the card in invisible text, isn't it, that Fire Snake is OP, so you probably can't take that away.
It's all downhill from here, folks.
I see him get used on maybe Raven so that you can take away her ability to... Because you probably want to whack her with 2 people, so he comes in, takes away the ability that drops people to 0 attack. Or Tainted Oracle, so somebody's kind of planning for him to die and give 2 cards. Well, no, you can play this guy and prevent that. So he's got loads of uses.
Absolutely. I think he's going to be one of those cards that people that don't think he's really that great now are going to encounter him. Like, I think he'll see increased play over time.
I agree.
All right, so let's talk about going back to the very first card spoiler that we released, Furian Terror. This guy kicked up a lot of interest and activity when we threw him out there. He's a 5-cost Shadow ally, 4 attack, 3 health, and the interesting thing about this guy is that his attack is actually fire damage. So this is the first time we've thrown out a card that has a damage type other than just regular old damage that can be affected by elemental modifiers. He also has the ability, when Furian Terror is summoned, all allies in play take 2 fire damage. Furian Terror is immune to fire damage. If damaged by ice or frozen, Furian Terror is killed. That's an interesting set of abilities there.
He's very flavorful. He tastes like chicken.
He does.
Barbecue chicken.
I think he's very, very well done, though. That's extra crispy chicken. Look at his art here.
He looks like he might be a little dry for my tastes. But I think Furian Terror is going to be really good. I think one of the big things that works with him is that you can now theme a deck around fire type damage, where he works both fireballs with especially with Supernova. He's immune to a Supernova. That alone is just great. Because you can play him and your opponent plays an Aeon or something, and you can Supernova, he's immune to it, and then swing to the Aeon and kill the Aeon.
Yeah. There's a lot of things. I think that immune to fire damage might be his least talked about text, but it's some of the most interesting stuff. Like, if you throw him out against Magia, for example, he's immune to her shadow ability, he's immune to her fireballs, he's immune to quite a lot of things.
He's going to get struck by lightning a few times.
That's likely.
Yeah.
That's likely. Well, I think that he's a great card because he's one of those cards where you don't need to wait a turn to get a benefit from. The moment he hits the board, everybody takes 2. And if doing that on turn 5 is great because that changes a lot of heroes' abilities who either do damage or help them do some sort of damage. So that's great to finish off 1 or 2 guys who are still hanging around who you'd rather not be around anymore. Chains well with them. Banebow's gonna love him because that extra 2 damage gets rid of a pesky Jasmine.
Saladar will love him.
Yeah.
We've talked about him being a good anti-mage. He's going to be good for mages, too, especially because he's immune to your own Shadow Novas.
Oh, yeah.
And just coming in there and just wiping the field of all the little guys so you can use your control on the biggins.
Oh, absolutely.
That's true. That's true. A lot of direct damage heroes are going to really love this guy because, it doesn't even almost matter if he dies quickly, because even if he only swings once or something, he's still the immediate impact of that damage from what we've been seeing in our internal testing has been quite huge.
Oh, absolutely. And I think none of us has mentioned so far the impact of having multiples of him.
Oh yeah, since he is immune to his own ability, so you drop a second Fury and Terror.
Oh, absolutely.
The first one is not affected.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, turn 5, drop a Fury and Terror. Turn 6, drop another one. And that's 4 damage over 2 turns. That just is brutal. I mean, unless you have a Sandworm, you're really not in good shape right there. That's close to board wiping.
That's very true. I am interested to know, I want to see the first game, I'm still waiting for it to happen, where somebody uses a Laerian Diplomat on Fury and Terror and then tries to freeze him. And he won't die. I know that somebody somewhere is going to scream curses very loudly when that happens.
See, and then there's also going to be equal screams of the word noob somewhere.
Very true. Very true.
Like,
If you end up being the first person to do that, please share on the forums your story, because I would love to hear it.
trolling optional. Oh,
I think trolling is required in that situation. But I promise I won't troll you. I'll just smile on the inside.
I do not offer the same promise.
If you use Laerian Diplomat on him, then I think it's pretty backwards, really. Because you're only going to take away the immune to fire damage bit. So, yeah.
Well, you could. Well, yeah. I can imagine situations where you do it. It's really hard to imagine a situation where you do it and then use like a freezing grip or something.
Yeah.
I still want it to happen.
The only reason you would drop Laerian Diplomat on a Fury and Terror is if you have a fireball in the waiting you were planning on using to kill him.
Yep.
Because then negates his fire negation, actually. Fireball swings in, there you go. You have
and it's only cost you 5 to do, yeah.
We're forgetting the fact that if you're a human mage and you're not a noob, you're already Eladwin and you have an anti-Fury and Terror built in.
That's true. Well, if you're a human mage and you are a noob. But that's topic for another day. That's a whole nother
You can't afford Laerian Diplomat. He's an uncommon.
Oh, that's true. Diplomat does not come cheap. That's true.
All right, so let's move on and talk about the last or second, depending on which chronology you're using here. We have spoiled Paladin of Unaxio to go along with our Fury and Terror. He's a 5-cost human ally. He has 3 attacks, 6 health, and his ability box reads: Fire and ice damage to Paladin of Unaxio and your hero is reduced by 1. You can pay 2 to have target-friendly hero or ally have all their negative effects removed.
The art is the real striking thing from this card.
Yeah, I gotta say, out of the 3 of these, I'm digging the art of Paladin. I'm buying what he's selling.
I do have to say the art is extremely sexy. I'm a big fan of it.
You don't want to shake the wrong hand, do you, when you meet him? Are they going to get frozen, or you're going to burn
I
your
don't think
hand
I'd
off?
shake either of his hands. I think a tip of the cap would be
Bring a
better way to
diplomat with
go.
you, and then that
And if you're a Fury and Terror and you shake the wrong hand, you'll die. That's pretty imposing.
Yeah.
My favorite part of the card is actually his name, and the reason for that is one of the things we've kind of moved towards with the expansion that we didn't have the advantage of in the first set is we have the established lore and the established story. So allies like Paladin of Eunoxio and Laerian Diplomat, they're actually talking about places and organizations that actually exist in the Shadow Era world. So we're kind of moving to a deeper concept with the cards now.
Indeed.
Indeed. And that's one thing that we are really excited about whenever this expansion is fully released, is there's so much flavor going on in there and so much lore that we can get out to you guys. It's kind of hard sitting on it and not being able to talk about it all.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing that we had aspired to do from very early on, and we're only able now to do, not quite to fruition, but as, building up to what we had aspired to in our dreams of how we want to do it, is tell a story through the cards. Where, Paladin of Eunoxio is like, well, Eunoxio means something. Laerian Diplomat, well, the fact he's Laerian, that means something too. It's like, they're people, they're places, they're characters in this world, so we're now able to kind of tell that story.
Exactly. So that's about it for spoilers. Be sure to go to the ShadowEra.com forums, where you can see the discussion that's going on with all the players. Most of these have quite a few posts, 150 or so posts talking about each of these cards, so you can see what people have been saying, what the top players think. You can see the artwork for the cards. All of this is on the ShadowEra.com official forum, so please come by if you haven't seen them already and check out what we've got, and that's where you'll be able to see future spoilers as well as soon as they come out. With regards to future spoilers and cards that are coming up, we have this program called the PFG that we often get people asking what it is and what we're doing with it. Lewis, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. For those of you guys who are not quite versed with it, PFG is an acronym. It stands for Players Focus Group. The point of the focus group is to balance test and to give feedback on our future releases, and to really help us round out the corners and make it, the highest quality product we can for you guys. We cycle players in and out as we go through our release cycles and produce content for you guys. We're currently on an inward cycle where we're adding some new players in, some new blood, new players. They're four members of the community who've, some have been playing for longer than others, some of them high-ranked players, some of them are tournament winners, some of them are players who've only been playing for a short period of time, but have shown dedication to the game. It's a very varied community of players. Speaking of, actually, one of the big things that the PFG does is it's very varied, from people from all over the world working as a team together. It's something that in a very guild-driven type of game, a lot of players have to get used to, but they're all working together to better the game for you guys.
I was, in the PFG before I got hired to the design team, and I think it's a really fun and great way to be able to see what's coming next to the game. You get to see everything that happens first. It's really exciting. You kind of get to shape the future of the game, which is really exciting for some, when you're really into a game and you play it a lot and you love it, to be able to have a say in how it ends up turning out is really sweet.
Yeah, and if I could add on to what Lewis was saying, what we found from the spoilers is there was just so much interest. People want the next spoiler, and so on. And because it's still in testing, we can't release them that fast. So that's another reason that we opened up more spots. People want to see the cards. So we're saying, yeah, if you apply to PFG and you get in, then you don't just see them, you get to play with them, and you get to give feedback on them. And any issues that you might have had if it was just released as a spoiler, well, now you can give that feedback and we can change it, and then you can play test with a changed version. So it's really a chance for all the people interested in the spoilers to get more involved. So we've had a lot of applications.
Yes.
For the PFG. I think I've seen at least 30. So, and I'm sorry we haven't replied to everybody yet. We're drawing up a short list. Lewis has that.
Oh.
And the applications are still open for people who haven't had a chance to apply yet, right?
Yes, absolutely. The applications are still open. As of the tapings, at least, the applications are still open. If you guys are interested, feel free to shoot me a personal message in the forums. You can shoot one to Gondorian as well. He'll forward it to me to make sure that I get it. Absolutely. I mean, the point focus group, to balance testing to help increase the quality. Make sure that we get to release out, as quickly as possible, as good as possible for you guys. So, yeah, absolutely.
And also, the design team get to play our best possible decks against other people, because we can't really tear it up on quick match normally. So it's a chance really for us to use the fact that we design the set and we can exploit that and try and beat people. It doesn't work, but we don't have time to play as much as other players.
When you when you go against people like Eclipse, the world champion, it's pretty hard even with designer advantage.
Got a PFG internal tournament coming up, and I'm paired with Eclipse. Paired against him. So
against. Oh, that's not good right there. I'm sorry for you. That's not good. That's not good. Well, that's one of the things too, that we're not just designers making a set. We test with the PFG. We communicate with them to get that feedback directly. So it gives them a chance to also relate to us, to give their feedback about any of the releases, any of the features, anything, a direct line to give that to us.
So, as far as things that are coming up for Shadow Era, we have heard you guys saying that, things have been kind of slow in some respects with Shadow Era. We do have exciting things coming up and things that are happening very soon. One of the first things that you guys are going to see is we're actually going to end Season 5 with the ratings on the Quick Match on October 31st. So make sure you guys are playing a lot of games, trying to get your ranking up, because the top 100 players, is it now?
I think only the top 20 will go in the Hall of Fame. The top 100 is just there throughout the season, just so people can, see where they are relative to the top, I guess.
So that's your chance at the Hall of Fame right there. Once those ratings reset, Season 5's Hall of Fame will be locked in. So that's fun and exciting, so make sure that you are, competing for that. We also have an update in the works that should be coming very soon now to include a whole new format called Meltdown, which you can currently play on the test server at test.shadowera.com if you are using a computer with a web browser. Gondorian, why don't you tell us a little bit about what Meltdown is and how it works?
Okay, so normally in the game you've got class restrictions and faction restrictions based on what hero you've got. Well, Meltdown, we ignore all of that, and you just get 4 booster packs, and you've got to make the best deck that you can from the heroes that you've got in those packs with the different cards that came in the packs, and you just ignore all class restrictions and faction restrictions, and that leads to some really crazy combos, and it's a whole lot of fun.
It's Shadow's first limited format, which I think is very exciting.
Yes, it is. I'd like to add also that a couple of the small differences between Meltdown and constructed play is that in Meltdown you're only building a 30-card deck. You have traditionally 4 booster packs, 30 cards, no class restrictions, no faction restrictions. You can play anything you want. Feel free to throw that Jasmine in your Magi deck. Why not? Sure. No class restrictions, no faction restrictions. You can only choose from the 4 heroes in those booster packs. So that puts, kind of gets the gears turning about, some of your deck building strategy, some of your synergy, understanding knowledge of the game. So that works that way as well. All other traditional tournament rules kind of apply that way. So it's something we've been working on for a while. It was created Columbus, Ohio, at
Origins
Game Fair. I'm sorry, my mind lapsed. Yeah, Origins Game Fair is where it was created. It was created by Kyle Poole, the creator of Shadow Era. Actually, it was his idea. It came about then. We tested it then. Everybody loved it. It's been a huge boon for the company, for the game. Everybody highly requested. So we're bringing it for you guys now in digital form. So for the guys who were not able to be there at the convention and play it with us.
And I have seen some crazy things happen. I mean, the first time that you get to play an Amber that has what big teeth?
And Speed Strike.
Yeah, things just get insane. I've seen an Amber with What Big Teeth and Speed Strike lose. Like, that's the kind of crazy fun you can have in Meltdown.
One of the funniest I've seen is there was a player who somehow, I want to know this player's luck, got an Aeon and an Olgoth and put them together.
Oh,
That hit the field. It was just, what
That
can
was
you
me,
do?
Kevin.
That was you?
That was me at Origins. Well, the combo, I got lucky with the Aeon, but the real combo that I was abusing was Ogloth, and my hero was Boris. So I was just putting him on
wow.
the field and boosting him right off the bat, and it was pretty
Wow.
pretty
So-
stupid, really.
So just to recap that, you had an Ogloth on the field, protected by an Aeon Stormcaller, and were constantly popping off guys to feed an Ogloth that the opponent couldn't hit.
Well, I only got the Aeon and Ogloth on the field one time. It was the right time. I think it was the final match of that tournament. But the big deal was just the pumping the Ogloth right off the bat, and because of the limited format, people weren't having unlimited mind controls and
Right.
retreat
better hope-
Ogloth.
You better hope they didn't have a tidal wave. That would just make you weep.
Would have.
Well, I mean, I will say that, that props out to Anorak, another member of the design team. He's a designer as well. He's the first person I ever saw use it, who pioneered the Amber Teeth deck. Amber, what, Big Teeth, Speed Strike. I believe in the original deck, he had both Speed Strike and Rapid Fire. Which,
Yeah.
He
That's
did.
me.
I remember we had to figure out whether that would give him 3 attacks or not.
yeah, we had to go to Majumbo for a tournament ruling on that, as to whether... Well, at the time, it was when Majumbo was in charge of it. Orange Hat guy, Nick, he's responsible for it now. But the tournament ruling whether or not they stacked, which... FYI for everybody, they don't. But yeah, so that shout outs to Anorak. That was the first time that deck was really seriously played. I think he won the tournament with it too. Actually, he played Gondorian actually in the finals.
Can't imagine that he didn't, because that deck is very powerful.
It
I
is.
think he might have had either a reserve weapon or a Master Smith or something, because that deck is shut down just by some item destruction, which is quite common. You're quite likely to get some item destruction in one of your 4 packs. So it's just whether they've either got 2 What Big Teeth, or which again is just a common card. So there's a reasonable chance of getting 2 of them. I think he might have had Lone Wolf as well on his Amber.
Well, remember he
just the
played
Hellebore.
against you in the finals, so
Yeah,
you would know what he
remember
had.
it.
You would know what he had.
Yeah,
I give full props to him because he spent that entire convention using Meltdown to build the most broken decks imaginable. I remember after hours we had an internal tournament where it came down to a heated finals between he and I, where he had a solo Banebow deck where he had all sorts. I believe he won it finally with a special delivery. He had
That's amazing.
He had all sorts of energy discharge and mind control. So intense, so intense. He had Lone Wolf too. I think he had 2 of them. 'Cause I think I put this-
Banebow with Lone Wolf that's pretty disgusting.
Yeah, so shout outs to him for his innovative deck design. There's a reason he's a designer. Shout outs to him for it.
So yeah, Meltdown, tons of fun. I really have loved this format ever since the first time I started playing it. It's a great way to have a lot of fun, and since it's a limited format, it definitely mixes things up more for those of you who are saying that you're kind of getting tired of the same format and all that kind of stuff. It's a great way to shake things up, and at test.shadowera.com you can play it today, and we should have it coming soon to all of the live server versions and platforms in the very near future, so look forward to that.
It's going to be a lot of fun because although it starts off luck based, what you find is that when you play it quite a bit, you start finding yourself in new situations that you've never seen before. Like I was playing against Nishaven, who had Rampage, so I was trying to
That's so
encourage
mean.
him to kill off my guys, but then I play them and then he kills them off and he heals from it. So it was you. As a player, it's new situations you've never thought of before. Also, cards in your hand that you've never had in your hand before together. So you're having to think on your feet to try and make it work. So actually, it's kind of a mix between luck, but also really advanced play.
I will say it's definitely something that we're looking forward to our veteran players really keying in on, because the strategy is radically different. There's cards that are absolute auto-include musts in Meltdown.
Eternal Renewal.
There's been a lot of... Let's not talk about Eternal Renewal. That's a good one. Let's not talk about it.
Eternal Renewal is very good in Meltdown.
There's cards in Meltdown that are just really good that do not see play anywhere else. Special Delivery is one. I mean, it's 4-cost burn, but it's control. It's removal. It's not the cheapest, not the best removal, but it's removal, and it's common. It's easy to pull out of a pack. It's an auto include almost every Meltdown deck. I mean, cards like that, inspire different types of strategy.
Yeah, that's the thing that's really great about limited formats in general, is that there are a lot of cards that in normal constructed play you would never even take a second look at that now suddenly become quite viable and can be the center of really great strategies, and you get to... The format's very malleable that way.
Well, it was kind of funny going all the way back to the Gen Con whenever GDC and I were playing in that tournament. He and I were battling it out, and I had this awesome little Majaya deck that had healing and burn.
Amazing healing Majaya.
And the trick that I brought to Shadowware, the one that I was like pushing for everyone to learn, was how to lock your hand. How when you're at 7 cards, if you just stop, don't play anything, you can't take draw damage anymore. GDC pulls it on me, and I lose the game because he decks me by locking his hand against me.
Yeah, the amazing healing Majaya, yes.
Advanced levels of strategy, the high levels of strategy are still there in Meltdown. It doesn't strip them away. It just adds this, okay, I have no idea what I'm facing now, to the advanced strategy of things like, hey, I'm going to lock my hand so I don't deck out.
Yeah. I think he had Rampage and Enrage on his Majaya at the same time. And he played Soul.
Wow.
He played Soul Release 2. That's right.
Yep, I loved my healing Majaya deck.
That's disgusting.
Man, I want to do that in constructed.
Can we loop back to the talk about limited format? In that,
absolutely.
When we joined the design team, we had some thought about it, but really we were aiming for constructed format for it to be perfect. Now, fast forward to now, we're seeing it now in limited formats, and Meltdown is looking good. Booster Draft, that's coming in the digital format as well. Not yet, but it's on the way. In physical format, that's been fun as well, although it takes a while to do a draft. So usually Meltdown's a lot quicker. So it just depends. I think in a group with your friends, you'd probably end up doing a booster draft if you've got, say, 4 hours together or something. Anyway, my point is that with the first expansion, we are very much thinking about limited formats as well as constructed. So there'll be cards in there that are aimed at limited. I mean, they're not going to be terrible cards for constructed, but we've got to think now of limited as well, especially with the popularity of Meltdown. So there'll be some in there that are aimed specifically at limited.
Yeah, I just want to second that notion that originally the core set was designed as, a singular piece, a standalone, to be, balanced and functional as a singular piece. And it was designed towards constructed with not as much of a mind towards limited playstyles. But as we've gone on, we made sure that it was malleable to limited, and the next releases are specifically designed with limited in mind as well, not as an afterthought. So there's going to be cards that are good for limited and cards that are good for constructed, but they might not always be the same card. So that's definitely something we have in mind, as well as 3-player, every man for themselves, 2v2. There's kind of cards where we're kind of messing around with the flavoring text and the abilities, keeping that in mind, knowing that players are going to do that. So we're trying to keep the design as open-ended as we can.
Which is always a great thing for everybody. So one last thing we want to tell you guys about that we have coming up here. We have a special event starting on October 26th and running through Halloween, where you can get double XP and gold on all of the quick match games that you play. So that'll be a fun way to kind of end the season and be able to pad your account with some extra XP and gold and get those cards you've been hoping to get. That's pretty exciting stuff.
The grinders will love it because they'll be able to grind at twice the speed, and if they have some Red Bull or whatever at the same time, maybe they'll grind even faster. Or using a Ladwin Rush deck or something, you'll be mega grinding, get a whole lot of gold. It's quite
that's
true
true.
for Ladwin as well. So
Yes, that's one thing that a lot of the newer players are really gonna like, because it allows them to kind of grind up the gold to get the power cards, the super cards that they're seeing a lot of the pro players use consistently. The Aeons, Sandworms, the Ravens, cards at a little bit higher cost in gold. Allow them to kind of grind up to get 4 of them or a complete set, whatever it is, a little quicker. And for those who kind of cherish their level as well, it allow them to kind of grind and juice that up as well.
There is a leaderboard for who is the highest level.
There is indeed.
Players in the game, and this is a great time to try to gain some ground.
I'm also kind of curious what this is going to do for the higher level quick match players, because you're going to have all this activity surging on the quick matches. Are they going to find some competition? Somebody going to try and dethrone them since the season's resetting so soon?
Quite possible.
I think that it will.
I'm going to start a new account and climb up, grind my way, because double XP and gold, and try and shoot for the top.
Beware, everybody. Any variation of the name Gondorian, that's Gondorian. Snipe him if you can. Harass him in his games.
No one can snipe anymore. We fixed that. It was being abused, and people were really upset about it, and we took it out of the game. You can no longer see pending matches in the quick match queue, so you can no longer snipe specific opponents or try to tech for certain things. You just have to push the quick match button and see who you get matched up with, which is a really, really good development for the game.
That's going to be great for Season 6, actually, when people start with 0 rating, they're climbing up. There's no sniping.
There's no camping because of the decay being implemented. I'm really, really excited to see what's going to happen when Season 6 starts.
Yeah.
Season 6 is going to be very exciting for those reasons. There's a huge amount of improvements, and we've had a little bit of a bumpy start rolling them out, but starting in Season 6, everyone knows the rules and knows what's going on, and it's going to be the best quick match season we've ever had, I think.
I second that. I mean, I still personally think that the top rankings are not going to be as high as we've seen in the past due to the decay. Where I think this might be the last season where we see the top ranked players 350 plus. I think it's going to set a little bit lower because you can't quite shoot up and camp as high anymore. Because a lot of the players who were up there as high this time, they were already up there camping before the decay came in, and they've just been kind of coasting along to stay there. So I think going forward now, it's going to be a little more reasonable. So players are going to have some higher competition level matches at some of the lower ranks. So it's definitely going to be fun to see how that goes.
I think they will get that high. We'll see, though.
Maybe
with enough people,
because you've got players who the reason the ratings tend to stop around the 360 level is because once you get up that high, there's just no one else there, so you just stop playing and start playing on an alt account. But with the new decay system and the fact that there's going to be so many people playing at the start of Season 6, I'm kind of curious which way it's going to go. Is it going to go with a lot of people super high, or is it going to go with a lot of people stuck in the mid ranges now?
You know what I think is going to happen is you will have that initial shoot where people go super high, because that's what happens. When you start playing, the certainty is reset back down to 0, so the system's giving tons of points for wins. And if you go on a streak, 5 or 6 wins in a row, you're going to shoot up to the 300s. But what's gonna be interesting is I don't think you can maintain that kind of
right.
Like you have to keep playing because of the rating decay, and in the past, since you could see which opponents were queued up for waiting for quick match games, you could selectively only play against players that were of a higher rating than yourself once you got high enough and there was less activity. So if you were rated 330, you could sit there and wait for somebody who was 330 or higher and not play against anybody else. So there was a huge gap in the ratings because the people in the mid 200s could never play against these higher ranked players because the higher ranked players were sitting there specifically looking for each other. That's no longer going to be the case. You have to keep playing to keep your rank up, and you can't select your opponents based on who's playing right now. So I think it'll push a lot of people a bit higher, but the extreme 360, 370 type ratings aren't going to exist anymore.
You might see them for a minute or a couple days, but they're not. Yeah, you're right. They're not going to stick around for any length of time.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously going to be, the king for a day syndrome where somebody shoots up really high, 367, 370, whatever it is, the first day or so, or 2 days, and that's not going to stay. They're going to start to decay, and they're going to have to keep playing to stay that high. Lose a match and drop down 20 points, back to human being level, and it's just gonna kind of find that middle ground.
The thing that's really great about it is it's going to make the rankings more valid than they've been in the past. You're going to see, usually once a season's been going on for a while, players get the feeling that, you know, the top 20 is now out of reach. I don't think we're going to see that anymore. I think it's going to be season-long competition instead of just the first month.
Yeah, it's definitely becoming a war of attrition of, you know, the players who are the top-ranked players. By the end of Season 6, they will be insanely highly respected players as the players who are indeed amongst the best. They will have had to work hard to get there.
Mm-hmm.
No more camping. You will have to have earned that.
Absolutely.
We're going to get some negative feedback, I'm sure, but this is a good change. And I think players are going to see that.
Players are going to give us negative feedback. Why would anybody do that?
What? Like the reset or the decay?
Maybe they're trying to get coupons.
I mean, when have we ever got negative feedback? I mean, I don't know about you. I always get positive feedback.
Probably.
I'm deleting the Corrupted Angel thread right now.
Like,
I think I was the negative feedback in the Corrupted Angel thread, actually.
Actually, I think I was too. Hilarious how that works out.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, I forgot about that.
Let's call stuff back into question now.
Let's forget about that. Everything is sunshine and rainbows.
Edit.
I never disagreed with you guys. I don't know what you're talking about.
The disagreement is completely fine. The issue is, in the end of the day, it's not a matter of what we want as much as what we think is good for the game. So in the example of something like ratings decay, yes, there was some growing pains when we first initiated it, but we did it because there was a problem. So it has actually helped. It has actually created more play in the higher levels. We think it's going to be better in Season 6 once it starts again. And if it's not, we'll look at what changes need to happen to actually implement it correctly.
Yep. And always remember, everybody listening, we like to joke about things, but we do take all of your feedback very seriously, and we're always looking for ways that we can collect more of your thoughts and feelings on the game from you. And even if it doesn't seem like it, we're definitely always discussing what you guys are talking about. We have weekly meetings where that's one of the topics that we specifically discuss. What have you guys been seeing on the forums? What do the players want? What are problems that we need to look into? So be sure to be active on the forums and let us know what's going on. We are paying attention, and we are trying to address all of your guys' concerns as quickly as we are able to, all the time.
Yeah, absolutely, you guys. We care about the game as much as anybody, and we are spend more time with this than we probably have any right to. And we
It's true.
Oh, you guys have no idea. So yeah, we want this game to be the best game possible, and we're willing to give it everything we've got to make sure it is.
Well, that's about all the time that we have for today. Thanks for listening, guys. In the future, we want to make sure that we get to not only cover the topics about what's going on in Shadow Era, we want to be able to answer your questions directly, too. So keep an eye out for the forum threads that will be popping up in the coming weeks, asking for your guys' input and questions that you want to hear us as the design team talk about on the podcast. How do I end this? That's an interesting question. I'm not really sure. I don't want to. I don't.
Button. Just hit stop. And that's
that is the most abrupt way to end this possible, Gondorian.
Just what you could do is just say,
defeat. Off the draw.
If you don't like the decision we've made, deal with it. Stop button.
No.
You know what? I'm gonna. Here's how we're gonna end it. I'm going to ask. We're gonna have a contest in the thread where this is posted. I want you guys to. What should the last line or the closing of this show be? Person who comes up with the best idea gets eternal fame and glory, and I will use that line to end.
Surely you've got to do a supernova. This is Ninja Ducky doing a supernova, killing us all off. Suicide.
That's not a bad idea. I like that.
Double fireball to the listeners. The end. We win.
All right, you know what? That's the best contest entry so far.
Yes.
So
thank you.
So double fireball to the listeners. Kapow.